Talk to Crab.
Hi, everyone. Mitch from PickDawgz.com here with Steve Monahan. We are here with our NFL preview. Charles Ormsby got the day off. We got him back tomorrow. So be sure to tune in then for Charles and his computer picks. But we are here today. We're going to discuss what's going on in the NFL. A lot going on in the NFL. A lot of coach hirings. Some movement even in college football, as well as...
Coach Leach going from the West Coast to the Bayou.
I think it's an interesting philosophy change there for Mississippi State. But, in the NFL, some big moves as well. But we could talk about Leach going to Mississippi State, before we get into the playoff talk. And, I think that what this does is it introduces the spread into the SEC. It's something that we haven't seen there. We've seen more of the we've seen it done a couple ways. Some teams have the drop back passer. Some teams have the scrambler. But we haven't, and then you have, the Gus Malzahn offense. We've seen a bunch of different offenses here, but we haven't ever really seen a true spread. In the SEC, I think Houston Nutt maybe at Arkansas a little bit.
Yeah, probably the closest thing I would say. Houston Nutt.
We just haven't seen much of the spread in the SEC. Of course, Mike Leach goes with big offensive linemen, taking wide spreads between them, and kind of that's how he pushes the field out a little bit. Doesn't run the ball a lot. Not a very
he doesn't.
He doesn't play a lot of defense, which
is a pure passing offense. Mouse Davis from back in the day, I guess, was the biggest innovator. We're talking 25 years now. The concept of the spread, if you will. You know what I mean?
To be honest, Leach has never had a team that's gotten over the top. He's had some good teams. He's had some teams that have been competitive over the years, but he's never had a team get to over the top of the mountain,
He's always had a quarterback. Now, Anthony Gordon, his freshman quarterback this year, threw for a lot of yards. But, when I think of Mike Leach, I think of Texas Tech, Graham Harrell, even Cliff Kingsbury, I think, would probably played under Mike Leach at Texas Tech. You know what I mean? The guys that are throwing 50 touchdown passes. And to your point, it's not a rushing offense. It's just, throw it and score. And, that's his signature. So, for the SEC, for him to come down there, it's pretty, I guess it's a new era, for the SEC.
Well, we're going to find out exactly what it's going to be and, what recruiting is going to be like in Stark Vegas for Mike Leach. Not the easiest place to recruit at Mississippi State. And, I've commented, and, Sam, my dog, we both commented on the Mississippi State quarterback play this past season. It's not like he has a lot to work with.
I remember when Sam was on your couch about a month and a half ago. You saw the worst quarterback play ever.
The other day we were talking about he started howling. It's bad. It's real bad. No one should have to see that. Dog, person, anything. It's like, we look back at this bowl season, and of course we still have the championship game left to go on Monday, but we look back at this college football bowl season, and, Mississippi State was favored against Louisville. And one of the, I know a lot of dogs win outright in college football bowl season, and a lot of dogs cover, but man, how is Mississippi State favored against anybody,
True. Yep. But,
so, I just think that, I think Mike Leach, it's kind of the way that when he was up for the Miami job, many years ago when they hired Randy Shannon, he was up for the Miami job as well. And the general consensus at Miami was, we would love to have this guy as our offensive coordinator, but not as our head coach. And that really was why he didn't land at Miami.
Right, ask Craig James. Didn't he lock Craig James' son in like a locker or something?
Well, I'm not one to judge, but I'm going to say that there's a possibility he could have deserved it.
But you know what I'm saying? Mike Leach always has had this aura to him. He's his own man, and you know what? Mississippi State just hired him. The guy gets a job, and Texas Tech, Washington State, and now Mississippi State. The guy definitely knows his offense. But to your point, do you want this guy leading your program? It's debatable, but
you're going to need to spend big on defense. Really, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be almost like paying a head coach salary for a defensive coordinator, and who are you going to get? I guess if you have the money, you can get whoever you want. But Brett Venables,
yeah, good luck getting him.
Exactly. It's like, who are you going to get?
Yeah. Bud Foster's available after leaving Virginia Tech for 643 years. But
I think he's retired.
No, I know, but I'm just throwing it like a defensive coordinator guy that's always been a defensive coordinator for forever. Venables is one of these guys.
I like Chuck Pagano.
He's employed right now by in the NFL.
Well, as we saw in Carolina,
I think he is, right.
We saw in Carolina, if you give a guy 9 million reasons a year to leave, he'll go anywhere, and we saw that. Guy with no head coaching experience in the NFL level at all.
Yeah.
$9 million a year. So when we get to $9 million a year, I know it's not Tom Brady money and it's not Aaron Rodgers money, right? Or Matt Stafford money, but we're getting into the range. We're starting to get into the range where the coach is making more than most of the players. Now it's a different story because it's always been that the players make so much more than the coach. But at $9 million, I think we're starting to cross the threshold here, and maybe things will change. The coaching salaries are not part of the cap.
Yeah, but they're guaranteed. That's the other point. It's now the players are looking at like a Matt Rule, signs for $62 million with bonuses, $70 million. That's guaranteed money. So I think that's a debate where, a guy can blow his knee out. It's always been the case in the NFL. 3.5 years. Is that money guaranteed? No, it's not. So I think, and that goes back to college too. These coaches can get up and split anytime they want. And then that, talking about the transfer protocol and things like that. Obviously, Russell Wilson, leaving North Carolina State for Wisconsin, I think set the bar. But now you see the Justin Fields, you see, these guys fifth year, not even fifth year anymore. These guys are getting up and going. And so it's just a different dynamic on the state of college football and the NFL. But, especially with the coaching in the NFL now, I think Matt Rule kind of it's kind of eye-opening, right? That it's guaranteed money, and the Carolina Panthers can go 0-32 in the next 2 years, and Matt Rule's going to get paid for 7 years. So
I don't know if I'm breaking a non-disclosure here or anything, but I actually used to work handling an account for one of the owners of. I don't believe he owns it anymore, but he owned a piece of the Carolina Panthers, and he only owned a piece of it. I could tell you, this is a very wealthy organization.
Yeah.
I worked for, I did some work for a guy named Leon Levine, and it's really about, I guess this is the most that I can really say, but I worked for a guy named Leon Levine on some of his financial stuff, and obviously I can't tell you how much money he has, but it's in the Forbes list, right? I mean, it's that much money. He started his business with $3,000 that he borrowed from his family, and he called it the Family Dollar Store. And he owns a piece of the Panthers. And I know that he's just a he doesn't own his piece anymore, I don't believe, but he was just such a small piece owner that you can only imagine how much money is behind that team. So I think this is a team that can afford to win. And they felt that Matt Rule's worth that kind of investment because there was that kind of interest in him. And it's almost like a free agent on the market where it's like you almost have to outbid the other guy because Jerry Jones is waving his checkbook around. And here comes Mike McCarthy, who, I mean, you want to talk about, I like the under 2 years in this relationship before it falls apart. This is Billy and George all over again.
I don't agree. I'm a Cowboy fan. I actually I told a couple friends when I heard McCarthy signed, and when McCarthy interviewed, I mean, it's less than a week. I didn't put much stock in it. I was as surprised as anybody that McCarthy signed. But no, I see this lasting more than that. I think Stephen Jones, slowly but surely, is taking over the Cowboys. Jerry is, if you look at Jerry Jones, I mean, he's 76, I think, now. I mean, really, it's time that he just takes a step back. But back to Matt Rule, this Tepper guy in Carolina's got an awful lot of money. And I'll equate it to kind of like what you were alluding to. I'll equate it to the New York Yankees blowing Garrett Cole away. Tepper, the new owner, came in, saw Matt Rule. The guys are sitting in sweatpants. $70 million. Boom. Calls the New York Giants, who really wanted Matt Rule. And Matt Rule's like, I ain't getting on an airplane. This is done, right? So, to your point, Carolina has got a lot of money. They did before, but they got this new owner who's got more money than God. So
now, Judge to the Giants.
Boy, a lot of talk around here in North Jersey about this one.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
You know what? Who else is out there? And the more I'm thinking about it, he's Nick Saban, Bill Belichick signing off on this guy. He's 38 years old. The last special teams guy, obviously, is probably John Harbaugh coming to the NFL. I don't know. I mean, there was really nobody out there. Who are they going to go after? Josh McDaniels? Who flamed out in Denver and drafted Tim Tebow, for Christ's sakes. And I get the guy's been the offensive coordinator and has got multiple rings.
I'll tell you what. Tebow won a playoff game, as a quarterback. He beat the
Steelers. Listen, you couldn't have a bigger Tim Tebow fan from college and from a character standpoint. Okay? But I don't think the Giants, and now listen, here's the other debate about the Giants. They flame out with Ben McAdoo, no coaching experience.
I'm not so sure that McDaniels had a lot of say in that draft pick.
I'm not going to say that, but I would say he had some influence on this. I mean,
how?
Well, he's the new coach coming in there, and he's a quarterback guru, offensive coordinator. Of course, the standard bearer is Tom Brady. Anything less than that obviously doesn't equate. But I think the Giants, I'll give him credit. And now Dave Gettleman, the GM, he's not the most popular guy in New York City right now, I can tell you this. But he's 38 years old, no-nonsense kid. What do they got to lose at this point? Really? There's really no other top candidates out there. I mean, Greg Roman, and the defense coordinator from San Francisco. I think these guys are under consideration for Cleveland. Good luck in Cleveland, with that dysfunctional franchise. But I'll give Gettleman credit for taking a flyer on this kid. And to me, if Nick Saban and Bill Belichick sign off on this guy, that's pretty good praise as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, they're not paying for him, and they're not paying.
I get it, but tickets. You know what? He doesn't get the job with that lineage and being exposed to their coaching ways. So we'll see what happens.
I think it's another short-term hire for the Giants. I think it's another bad one.
Listen, that's their problem, but I'll give this kid a chance.
I don't think he's worth the chance.
I never heard. Listen, for the record, I never heard of Joe Judge until 48 hours ago. Never heard of him. You?
No, but special teams guys rarely get head coaching jobs, and I mean,
I just said John Harbaugh is the last one.
Well, there was the Dave Campo experience.
Yes, I'm familiar with the Dave Campo experience. Thank you.
It wasn't just a coaching gig. It was the Dave Campo experience.
I like that, actually.
So
we may copyright that one.
It's been a lot of moves, but
Who do you think, though? Before we get to our picks, just you and I haven't talked since Sunday. So who do you think Cleveland is going to go after? I mean,
well, it's like they keep getting picked and picked and picked and picked, but I think that it comes down back to one of these Ohio coaches. I think that Urban Meyer is going to be interviewed there. I don't know if he takes it, but I think that he's got to be a factor. He's an Ohio guy.
I know he is.
He's a natural fit there. But outside of him, I mean, with McCarthy off the table.
Well, Jesus Christ, if Matt Rule got $70 million coming out of Baylor and Temple, what the hell you think Urban Meyer's going to hijack the Cleveland Browns for, right?
You got to think that Al Golden probably regrets taking that Miami job. You know, maybe he should have taken a Big 12 team. You know, but
Right.
I mean, Matt Rule, we saw his defense against Oklahoma in the second half there. So played in a lot of close games, that guy.
Yeah. So it is what it is. We shall see who Cleveland hires. So what's the first game you want to talk about there, Mitch?
The Vikings and 49ers. 49ers well rested and ready to go. The Vikings, big stunner in New Orleans. Obviously, the road isn't going to bother them much at this point. But it is, back-to-back games without the day off. Dalvin Cook looked healthy. Looked very healthy.
Boy, did he look healthy.
Kirk Cousins finally getting the monkey off his back there as well. He made the big plays. It was him. Thielen, they got healthy at just the right time. The guys that were injured ended up being the guys who made the impact.
And plus, the Vikings rested a lot of the guys in the last week against Green Bay, I mean, just cutting you off right here, I think the spread is 7 as far as last I checked, San Francisco. And I think the Vikings are going to be a tough out, especially like you said. They got the monkey off the back. They got to go to San Francisco. San Francisco's obviously well rested. I think San Francisco will probably win the game, but the 7 points I think is a little too much for me. I think it's a field goal game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings actually pull this off, get to the championship game. But I think I got to take I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings here. I think San Francisco wins the game, but I think 7 points is a little too much for my liking.
Yeah, it's a lean for me at this point on that. I think the Vikings too. I think as long as they can run the ball effectively, they're going to be good. And it's like Dalvin Cook,
like you said, that's the
missing link. But, Kirk Cousins under the pressure of that 49ers pass rush, not very appealing either. So, this is a tough game. But, in these first 2 rounds of the playoffs the last several years, and as played to form last week, very doggy. Very, very, very doggy.
And this is Garoppolo's first big spotlight game, so to speak. Obviously, San Francisco's had a real good year, beating Seattle and, having the bye. I'm a Jimmy Garoppolo fan. I think he's an efficient quarterback. I mean, is he worth the money? That's another debate. But this is really his first stage, and, big spotlight game. But I tell you what, I'm going to at the Vikings on the road here. I still think San Francisco wins, but it's
Sam acting like he saw a Mississippi State quarterback or something. Someone backing up the driveway.
Excuse me, did you go to Mississippi State perchance?
But I'm leaning towards the Vikings at this point, though, and I just think that I think the idea is that if you can make Kirk Cousins a game manager as opposed to have him try and win the game for you, you're going to be better off. I think the 49ers are a better team than the Saints. I mean, they beat the Saints in New Orleans, so they are a better team. And, they both beat the Saints in New Orleans. And the way the Vikings did it, I mean, Kyle Rudolph's a guy that's been injured his whole career also, Thielen was injured this year. Cook was out this year. These were the key guys when push came to shove. And, Diggs is yet to get started. I think with Thielen healthy, it creates problems in that 49ers secondary because, you got Sherman, but you got, 3 guys he's got to cover. Be interesting. I think this one is just a matter of Cousins not making the bad decisions because he is going to get sacked. He's going to get hit. He's going to get hit.
Yeah, they got again San Francisco. It's one of their strengths with the pass rush, and they got a formidable defense, no question. But listen, Mike Zimmer is a defensive guy, and I gotta think this is an under too. I don't see this game, being 30 something to 30 something. I see this as low 20s. Maybe even a 17-13 game. I do.
Definitely has that kind of possibility. Go to Baltimore where the Ravens are taking on the Titans. Titans put on a show in New England. We talked about this game last week. I hate cutesy coaching, and I think that usually comes back and bites you in the ass at some point. My guess is that when New England plays them the next time, and Belichick has a chance to show him up, he's going to. And it's going to be in a bad way. It's going to be one of those things where they call timeout with 3 seconds left to go in the game and kick the field goal. It's one of those things.
Absolutely, no question.
I've been at I'm a Hurricane fan. I've been at those games. They hate everybody, and so that's what you do. It's like, oh, you think we're running up the score?
Exactly. Yep.
Carlos Huerta, get back out there.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%, but that's down the road, and bet the farm Belichick has not forgotten that payback is coming to Mike Vrabel.
The Ravens' defense hasn't been so hot this season. Not as good as it's been in the past, that's for sure. And Titans ran the ball effectively on the Patriots. I think the Ravens' defense, though, might be better. I think the Patriots, what we saw from them, what we see from this, it's always about the scheme and the game plan. They never really had the talent. I mean, when Kyle Van Noy is your guy, you don't have the talent. The Ravens have lost some of their talent that they had. They still have some guys, and they still have damn good secondary. But against Ryan Tannehill, they're not going to lean on him anyway. It's going to be Derrick Henry against that Ravens defense. On the other side, can the Titans stop Lamar Jackson? Nobody else has. At any level, not just here. A lot of people feel that the year Baker Mayfield won the Heisman, that really Lamar Jackson was the Heisman winner that year too. I'm probably in that camp with those people.
Sure.
I mean, we could look at the numbers. His numbers were better that year than the year he did win the Heisman.
Exactly. No, we don't have to look at the numbers for that. Maybe for the audience, but you and I know Lamar Jackson was absolutely worthy of tying Archie Griffin as a back-to-back Heisman guy, no question.
But
I'm gonna cut to the chase. I've been back and forth thinking about the Titans, Derrick Henry, but to your point, Harbaugh is going to game plan to stop Derrick Henry. As efficient as Ryan Tannehill, and of course the Tannehill jokes have been for as long as we've been alive. It's a 10-point spread, but Baltimore's home. I think Lamar Jackson is just so dynamic right now. I see Baltimore covering 10 points. I do. I think at home, I'm going to take Baltimore here. It's a lot of points for a playoff game, especially. But I think Baltimore is locked and loaded, and I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I think the Titans run ends. They had their big win against New England. And, I think good things are going to happen for Tennessee with Vrabel going forward. But I got to go with the Ravens here. I do.
I think the Baltimore defense just scares me here that they've been so bad. The Titans are feeling it, It's like, I really don't like Mike Vrabel a lot. I really can't stand him. So.
Oh, I like Mike Vrabel.
Of course you do. You also like Notre Dame and the Dallas Cowboys, and probably a Duke basketball fan too. But
no. I'm a Bobby Knight guy from Indiana Hoosiers day, and then a North Carolina Tar Heel guy, pretty much after.
I don't love that defense. I just don't. I think the secondary is good. Marcus Peters, Earl Thomas, Marlon Humphrey, outstanding in the secondary. But, Earl Thomas can stop the run, but that's where you're going to see that collision. Is Thomas and Derrick Henry, and I think Henry's going to win that battle.
Hey, listen, all year long, and I said, I've been saying, that since Tannehill came aboard, um, the Titans are one of two teams that have been averaging 30 points, and who's the other team? The Baltimore Ravens. I just don't, again, Tennessee scored 14 against New England. New England's got a good defense. I mean, obviously it was 20-14, but for intents and purposes, it was a 14-13 game. Baltimore's the other team that's been averaging over 30 points. I don't see them being slowed down. And I think Baltimore, especially being home, rested, I think they're ready for the kill here. And I'm going to go all in on Baltimore here.
I'm going to take the Titans and the points. I think Baltimore squeezes out a win with the kicker, Tucker. Go with the next game. Go to Sunday. Houston versus Kansas City. This is one that if you have other things to do, this might be the game. Like if you have to miss the end of the games, this is probably.
If you got to go to Walmart for 2 hours, this is probably
Yeah, this is like the one where it's like I gotta do something or whatever.
Exactly. I gotta go get some light bulbs or something.
Yeah,
right.
This is
no doubt.
Stick it at 3:05 Eastern. They kind of moved everything back on Sunday this year.
Yeah.
Try and get that second game into prime time. So Houston, Kansas City, the Texans 10-point dogs here against the Chiefs. It's like if they fall down again like they did last week, are they going to be able to get back up? And I don't think so. I don't think Patrick Mahomes has been himself, but we'll see what he looks like after having a week off. If there was a guy who needed a week off, it was him. And
right.
Also you have to remember that the Chiefs run to the small side at the skill positions as far as size. So those guys, while it always looks like they're scampering around and and stuff like that, I know for a fact that when those big defensive guys get a clean hit on them, they really unload because they don't get to do it too often. That's what they always say. It's like, I would just love to get a clean hit on, that Tyreek Hill. It's like, man, because you don't get too many shots at them. But when they do, they do. And they, if you play football, you're going to take shots. It doesn't matter who you are. I think this is the game where the Chiefs probably run all over them. And I think that this is probably, the Texans, it's typical Texans. It's like they win the first round, they lose this one.
You're right. We talked about on the show a couple, I don't know, I think it was Sunday or something, and I said, Bill O'Brien, if they win, the previous game, which they did, a signature win. I think I overstepped my bounds there, and you called me out and you go, signature win? Well, this would be a signature win for him if he gets to the championship game. I don't see it. I don't. I'm, huge Deshaun Watson fan. Hopkins obviously is the special talent. J.J. Watt came back, but they're going to Kansas City, and like Baltimore, they're well rested. I think Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. I think that the Chiefs, are going to maul the Texans here. I think the Texans' season's end. Again, it's another 10-point spread. I don't feel comfortable taking two teams with 10-point spreads here. But I tell you what, I think the Chiefs, I'm looking for a Ravens-Chiefs championship game a week from now. And I think the Chiefs take care of business, and I think Mahomes probably has a 3-4 touchdown day.
Yeah, someone's saying here, Chiefs fortunate to draw Texans while Ravens draw Titans. And I think so. I mean, the Titans beat the Chiefs this year, and it was one of those weird finishes where the Chiefs kind of had a chance to cement the game late. They fumbled the field goal attempt. The Titans went down and scored a touchdown and ended up beating them. It was like they went from – it was an 8-point spread. They're up by 6. There's like 40 seconds left to go in the game. One of those, managing the clock, stupid things, right? The thing that I hate, right? Instead of just playing your game, you get into this stupid clock, timeout burning, dumbass strategy. You wheel the kicker onto the field. They go for the snap, and the guy drops the ball. Now you're only up by 6, and you got Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Henry rips off like a 50-yard run on them, and all of a sudden they're knocking on the door. They put it in the end zone, and you lose outright. It's like, and that is what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs in that game against the Titans. But in order for that to happen, you need to be in position to give yourself a chance to win. And I think most coaches would say, on the road, you just want to hope to give yourself a chance to win. In the final, put yourself in a chance where in the final minutes of the game, you have a chance to win, because winning on the road is hard. You don't always get those, mismatches like, Kansas against that Iowa State defense last night. I mean, you just don't see that often. It's like, they're allowing 46% shooting, and these guys have three guys that pound the inside. It's like, this is going to be ugly. You don't see it too often. But this, you see it here, and I think this is a bad matchup for Houston. I just think it is. I think that they don't match up well. I think that, they don't have the running game to win on the road, and it's going to cost them here. I think even with Lamar Miller, they still wouldn't have had the running game to win here.
No. I mean, you keep discounting Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde is a serviceable back.
At this point in his career, he's a journeyman, and he's always been a journeyman.
I'm not saying
how many teams has this guy been on?
San Francisco and Houston, as far as I know.
What about the Browns?
Yeah, okay, so 3 teams.
No, he's been on more than that.
That's luck. I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure Carlos Hyde has been around the block.
Out of Ohio State.
Carlos Hyde was drafted by the 49ers in the second round of 2014. Carlos Hyde's got a Wikipedia page.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so here's the Carlos Hyde resume. San Francisco 49ers, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars, Kansas City Chiefs, and Houston Texans.
Okay, I stand corrected. Okay.
That's around the block. He's not Edwin Jackson yet, but he's headed towards that type of recognition.
Or we can look at it, he's such a talent that all these teams had to have Carlos Hyde.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, that he played for the 49ers 2014, 15, 16, and 17. So
and he had a cup of coffee, probably training camp crap with the other guys.
No, so it kind of looked like it. So the Jags, I know with the Browns he was traded in training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jackson on October. He's been traded several. I mean, in the day of where there's never trades, right?
Right.
So he was traded. He signed a 3-year contract with the Browns, and then in October, the Browns traded Hyde to the Jaguars for a 5th-round pick.
Okay.
And then he signed as a free agent with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs traded him to the Texans. So ironically,
here we go, Texans Chiefs.
Here it is. So he never actually played for the Chiefs. He only signed the 1-year deal, and before he ever got to the field, August 31st, that's before the season opener. So he didn't make it out of training camp. So he got the jersey, but he never got to wear it.
All right. My only point is he's not terrible. He's not terrible.
Well, in the day and age where running backs don't get drafted anymore in the NFL draft, we got the guy from Oklahoma State, and we got Etienne.
Yeah, and Jonathan Taylor's coming out.
Here's the problem. You traded your 1st-round pick for Laramie Tunsil.
And a bong mask. You're right.
The bong mask, I think, was included in the deal.
Of course.
It's kind of like Chuck Muncie, Does that include the brick of cocaine? Yes, it does. And it's
but
like
he's super talented. But he's super talented.
It's like from there on, it's like we traded it to the Chargers for Chuck Muncie and a brick.
I think we're dating ourselves with Chuck Muncie. I think you and I only can appreciate, unless our 45 plus old audience knows Chuck Muncie.
I think they can.
Okay, they can look him up, but
well, Russell Wilson returns to the scene of the crime. He goes to Wisconsin here. Packers, Seahawks. These guys have some history. These teams. This was the one that it was in Seattle, but this was the game where the referees got their money right after that because of the call, the Monday Night Football game. And these guys
Yep.
have played. Remember, there was a
Golden
onside kick.
State catch, non-catch, right?
Yeah, and wasn't there an onside kick in a playoff game a few years ago at Green Bay where it hit the player in the chest? And he dropped the ball. Seattle recovered and ended up winning. They were a huge favorite in that game. Didn't cover, but won the game there. And I believe they went to the Super Bowl that year. That was the year I think they lost to the Patriots on the Malcolm Butler play.
Correct. I think you're right.
And, Russell Wilson, of course, played at the University of Wisconsin for a year.
Yep.
That's where he's kind of has his, he claims, that's where, when he says where he went to college, that's where he says he went, even though he played much longer in NC State.
A lot longer. You're right.
I'll tell you, I've been to Madison. I wish I would have gone there. I mean, I went to BU. I met Steve. I met a bunch of other great guys. But I'll tell you what, man. If I had it all do over again, I would freeze my ass off in Madison. I love it there, man. I went there for a Badger game. Oh, my God. It's like, we really missed out. I mean, we really missed out.
All those bar fights that started in BU would have happened in Wisconsin? Okay.
Oh, no, in Wisconsin, everyone would be too drunk. It wouldn't matter. It's like, I mean, half the people in the stands were wearing shirts that said, "I'm not an alcoholic, I'm just from Wisconsin." It was like, I mean, I've been to some great tailgates, and I've talked about my friend's Miami Hurricane tailgate, the most winningest tailgate in history, 59 in a row winners. But the tailgates that I went to in Madison were just off the chart. Then, to let everybody sober up after the game, they do a fifth quarter where the band plays for an entire quarter worth of basically a football, and the band is on the field, and they do all kinds of stuff after the game to give everyone a chance to try and sober up for the ride home. It's like that's how bad it is. Well, how good it is, which any way you slice it. Of course, they do the jump around, and it's just an awesome place. I mean, just really awesome. But anyway, Seattle against Green Bay. The Packers might be the worst
of the remaining
team, whatever they are, that I've ever seen. I have no faith in this defense at all. I don't understand how they do it. To me, it just seems like smoke and mirrors, and limited wide receivers. I mean, Geronimo Allison. I've followed college football pretty closely, but I tell you, Geronimo Allison wasn't on my radar anywhere. And then Adams. He's not. I mean, is he like a real number one on any other team? Man. So that's what happens when your quarterback makes 50% of the payroll in a salary cap league.
Right, and he's out there because of the thinness at wide receiver. They're actually making Aaron Rodgers look kind of human. I mean, even Detroit, that Detroit Green Bay game, Aaron Rodgers missed passes that you really hardly ever see him miss, and I think that has to go with timing and everything else, and not having the stud wide receivers that he's used to. I've been back and forth on this one. Obviously, Seattle's going to Green Bay. I'm going to assume it's going to be absolutely freezing cold there. I'm not sure if snow will factor in. The spread last I saw was 4 by Green Bay. And, can Green Bay run the ball? Yeah. I mean, they got a pretty good back in Jones. He's been pretty effective this year. Seattle. Again, it's Russell Wilson. Since I've been on your show, I think a lot of people know my affinity for Russell Wilson. All this guy does is win for the most part. But Seattle's rushing, they're decimated at running back. But they got Marshawn Lynch. And you know what? Marshawn Lynch, I don't care. It's been sitting on a beach for the last 15 weeks or whatever it is. What's it, 2 weeks now he's been on Seattle? This DK Metcalf, I think this guy is going to be an absolute first-team all-pro wide receiver for the next 6, 7, 8 years. Guy is just a beast.
How about this guy, the way he talks? How about DK Metcalf? Did you hear the interview with them after the game? Wow. What a gem. Right. How refreshing was that?
Totally, man.
He acted like, It was like, I mean, here's a guy that, is an NFL. I mean, he's basically a superstar, right? I mean, he's not going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be in the discussion.
Yeah.
I think Josh Jacobs is in the discussion. I think he's in the discussion. I think there's a few other guys in the discussion, right?
Yeah, I would say Josh Jacobs would probably get it. Would be my guess. But DK Metcalf and Michael Thomas are going to be first-team All-Pro wide receivers for the next 5, 6, 7 years. I'm telling.
Yeah, I know. But did you hear the way he talked in the interview after? It was like, I mean, it was like he was some high school kid or something that was like at a good high school with like a well-educated, like politest, nicest, not like this,
Exactly.
It was unbelievable.
You could play for me any time.
It's like, how does a guy like that slip through? I could see other guys with his attitude problem, this or that, the other thing. But how does this guy slip? And once again, Pete Carroll picking up a guy that can just play football and fits into his team like he just fits right in. It's like, Tyler Lockett at Kansas State was pretty much the offense, right? I mean, he was always wide open and just returning kicks and doing all the things that he does in the NFL. And this was a team that was good, a great Kansas State team, and he was the guy. How does he slip? It's like, and the same thing. The guy from the Seahawks, or the guy from Alabama on the defensive line that they have. This guy was a home wrecker in college. And how does his name escape?
They've had 1,000 of them on the D line.
No. This guy was the guy at Alabama. This guy he's not 1,000 guy. This is the guy. He was. This guy was the guy. Jaron Reed.
Sure.
Was the guy at Alabama.
Sure.
He was the guy. Slips. Seahawks picked him up. I mean.
Yeah.
You look at their roster, and it's just up and down. The Griffin brothers.
Yep.
It's like Shaquem Griffin was the leading tackler at a great Central Florida team.
That's right.
I mean, it wasn't even like it was like he was sort of the tackler. It was like, no. This was like ridiculous amount of tackles.
Yeah. That's where drafting comes in, right? The guys like that you're talking about that really solidify an NFL roster, and obviously you and I love college football. We see 1,000 players we know, and we love the NFL draft, so we're really not surprised when certain guys that we like slip. But I think this DK Metcalf, I think he really is going to be instrumental on Sunday. Good luck stopping this guy. Good luck, especially with Wilson throwing to him.
I'll
Good
tell you
luck.
also, the Travis Homer, the running back from Miami, he was the same thing at Miami. Someone got hurt in front of him. He came in, and it was like grease lightning. It was like, this guy can just play. And it's like, he seems smallish at times, but he runs people over. He is a very, very tough customer. We've had, I say it all the time about the Miami running backs. We haven't had a real dog in a long time.
But getting to the pick here, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks on the road here.
I like them to win outright.
I do too, actually.
I like them outright, and I think it's a missed field goal.
It's a close game. Green Bay's favored by 4, but I'll take Seattle here all day long here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. I think they win this game. I think it's gonna be a missed field goal, and all the games went under in the wild card round. I'm not so sure that's going to be the case this time around. Got a few of the more dynamic offenses are in this round.
Yeah, I think the Ravens and the Chiefs are going to score a bunch of points, so I think I would lean towards the over there. I think I would go the under on the Vikings Niners, and again, weather permitting here, Seattle Pack. I don't see this being a high scoring game, but to to your point, I see a missed field goal. I see Seattle escaping and moving on.
Yeah, Homer isn't a steroids guy. He's been this type of back his entire career at Miami. He was a force. I'm telling you, I've seen the Miami backs over the years, and this guy is as good as any of them. You know, maybe not as good as any of them, but he's definitely. He wasn't like, oh yeah, remember the year we had Travis Homer? It was kind of like the year that we had, you know, like, I mean, the kicker that had like the sunscreen company. It was like, oh man, you know, it was like, this is bad, you know. It's like, this is, you know, you kind of remember these things, and you know, like the Dave Campo experience, right? You kind of remember these things; they kind of stick out. But you know, Travis Homer definitely was not in that, you know, group, you know, like he's not like the Brian Forte, you know, or the Jeff George, you know, quarterbacks, you know, these the disasters.
Brian Forte is from New Jersey. I mean, I don't think our audience, you know, kind of knows who Brian Forte is. You and I do too. But I remember Brian Forte as a quarterback, highly touted out of New Jersey, going to Miami, and not good.
Transferred out to Rutgers. There's been, you know, and it just goes to show you how different the recruiting game is. You know, back then, you know, when Larry Coker was there, and you know, the final days of Larry Coker, who was the original Clappy before Pete Carroll was Clappy, Larry Coker was Clappy.
He's a big clapper. You're right.
Yeah, very Clappy, and great clapper.
Huge clapper. Huge.
I mean, we used to, when Larry Coker was the defensive coordinator. True story. We used to wait for him outside the locker room after games, just to fuck with him. You know, just to fuck with him. It was like too bad there wasn't YouTube back then, or like, you know, phones that had cameras and stuff like that. We'd be like, "Nice game, Larry. Thanks." And like the whole night we would just be, you know, talking about that. It was like, we'd be like, seriously, we'd wait outside of the locker room just to say this to him.
It's funny.
So, yeah, pretty rough stuff. But anyways, I just think that, you know, I don't know what I was saying, but I think Travis Homer, you know, isn't one of those guys. That's really where this came from. And, you know, I've seen some great ones, and I've seen some lousy ones. And he was always a good one. The Miami running backs, and you know, I'll say this, and I know it's always us against the world, but the Miami running backs never seem to get the credit that some of the other running backs get. They just never seem to get it, except when they get to the NFL, then it's always like, wow, where did Lamar Miller come from? You know, Killian High School, man, that's where, you know, where the term street agent was originated. You know, there's a reason, you know, like
even Frank Gore, even though he's going to the Hall of Fame and is now the third leading all-time rusher, he didn't get his due in college. I know he had a knee injury and stuff, but you could go all the way back to him, man.
How about Edgerrin James? You know, not even in the Heisman discussion. You know, Ricky Williams was Ricky, right? Edgerrin James. You know, Reggie Wayne, you know, wide receiver up for Hall of Fame this year. I think Edgerrin and Reggie Wayne should go in together. You know? I
don't think they will go in together, but Reggie Wayne's definitely going to go in the next class. He's well deserving.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Wayne. I mean, when we had Reggie Wayne, man,
I think Edgerrin's going to have to wait. To your point,
I think Reggie Wayne, if I remember correctly, was in that kickoff classic at against Ohio State.
I was actually at that game. I remember that game. Santana Moss was on the team, right?
Dan Morgan.
Yeah, Danny Morgan, sure.
That was like the year before that the team exploded.
Yeah. They no longer have the kickoff classic here in New Jersey.
I remember I lived in Cincinnati the year of that game, actually. Yeah, I lived in Cincinnati the year of that game. And I remember the Ohio State fans telling me when they said, well, who are your running backs? And I said, Edgerrin James, Clinton Portis, James Jackson, and Nigel Davenport. And they were just like, who are those guys? You know? Yeah, right. It's like, we never even heard of any of those guys.
They were pretty good.
Yeah. So I was like, yo.
That's cool.
They were calling him like the Nigel Davenport. They were like, you know, laughing at it. You know? It's like, yeah, okay. You guys are going to be in good shape.
I wasn't laughing. I wasn't laughing. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Anyways, man, we went over the games here. Steve and I agreed on most counts, I think. We might have a little disagreement on this Titans-Ravens game. I'm not sold on any of these. These aren't my final picks or anything like that.
Yeah, this is,
we're also
change, but
we're also, oddly enough, a few days away from the national championship game, and I haven't heard a peep from anybody. Okay, no one's getting suspended. No one's fallen off the bus. No one's tripped over a moped. No one's had any issues. It's very rare that happens. It's super rare that you don't hear a peep about something bad happening from these teams. So I think you still got to be on the lookout for that. I haven't changed. I know Charles Ormsby's computer has LSU. I know that. It loves him. I still love Clemson on the money line in that game. I'm
still on LSU.
And this is what everybody said this is the same thing that everybody said to me at the beginning of the season when they had Tua winning the Heisman. Okay? Same crap. It's like, tell me, I know one thing, and that's college football. And I'll tell you one thing, man. Clemson's going to smack them. They're going to smack them. That Etienne is going to get loose up the middle, and it's going to be all over.
I am not discounting Clemson. They got a 29-game win streak, two-time national champion. I get it, Dabo. I mean, it pains me to even say I got to bet against them. But I'm just, Charles Ormsby's computer aside, the eye test, all this stuff, I just think LSU just has a little bit more depth this year. I think they're all around.
I mean, what's the eye test? What eye test? I'm missing this. What eye test shows LSU?
You got an eye test, and I got an eye test.
All right. How about this? How about this eye test? What was the score when LSU played Alabama? They won by how much?
40-something to 40-something, yes.
What was the score when Clemson played Alabama with this quarterback and this running back and these wide receivers? About 150 to nothing.
They didn't play this year, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, they beat them within an inch of their life.
Okay.
I think that Alabama players
on the sideline. You can talk all you want. I'm still taking LSU.
I'll tell you what, they beat a better Alabama team than this Alabama team.
Okay. I'm not discounting that, and I led with it. Pains me to do this.
They beat him with Tua. They beat him with Tua, the same wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy, Waddle, same guys. They beat him.
I got you.
Better defense.
Listen, Clemson's not going to beat Bud Wilkinson's 47-game win streak. I guess the Canes came as close as you're possibly going to get to that, right, for the most part. But I think it ends at 29. And, if Clemson loses, then what? That means they won 2 national championships in the last 4 years. And I'm not discounting Clemson. Listen, I'm not going to be surprised if they win, but I got to pick a team. And I got to go with LSU just based on, the secondary and the wide receivers. And Burrow has just been lights out. I think Trevor Lawrence could take the game over. But I got to pick a team, and I'm going to go with LSU.
I love that Clemson secondary. I love the Clemson wide receivers.
I love
the Clemson running backs.
The 9,000th time, I'm not discounting Clemson.
I think the Clemson running back against the LSU running back against those Clemson linebackers, that might be their best spot where they have a little bit of an edge, LSU. But outside of that, Clemson's going to run circles around those guys. Way faster. Clemson's loaded fast. There's a reason they've had the number 1 recruiting class in the country for the last 6 years. Because they used 40 times.
Listen, I am not discounting that LSU can give up a hell of a lot of points. I'm just not. I just think they can score an awful lot of points too. I mean, the over in this game, they'll take that all day. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
We've seen that.
I think it's going to be one of the greatest championship games we're going to see, man.
I don't think so.
I do. I think it's going to be very entertaining back and forth.
I think it'll be interesting to see what LSU looks like when they're playing from behind. And I think that's what they're going to be doing in this game.
That's a fair point.
We haven't seen them where they've been in a hole. And this is a team, I mean, LSU beat Oklahoma, okay? My thoughts on that, Oklahoma needs to go away, okay?
Yeah,
they need to just go away. Just
absolutely.
Take a couple years off. I understand that you guys are going to try and you're going to play in your shitty conference and it's soft defenses and, dress it up and you're going to lose the Kansas States of the world, right? We know this is going to happen because this is Oklahoma every single year, right? And then you back into the championship game, into the playoff, and you get shellacked, just shellacked.
Yep.
It's not fun for anybody. It can't be fun for them either.
You're right.
Can't be fun. Love Clemson on the money line. Love it.
All right. Also, it's Thursday, subject to change, but right now...
I'm not subject to change at all on this one. I say you go reverse, like we did last year on Clemson when everyone was saying, Alabama. Same thing everyone was saying last year. And even the time when Alabama beat us a couple years ago, when we had Clemson also in that game, the first Deshaun Watson game, we still covered. So,
Right.
But that game was that was the closest of them all. The other time was the Kerry, the other Clemson quarterback, the one that transferred to Missouri.
Yeah, Kelly Bryant
game.
Yeah.
That one I was even a little worried about, But This one, I love Clemson. I mean, I love them.
Okay.
Love them.
I'll say I can't wait for the game, man.
I mean,
absolutely.
Look how inspired Sam is about this Clemson game.
What, is he still sick of watching Mississippi State quarterbacks?
Don't
he
say
hasn't
that
got
too loud. He'll be howling at the moon. Sammy. He's out.
I'm sleeping over here.
He's out. Anyways, we're going to be back tomorrow. We'll have Charles Ormsby with us. Steve will be here with Charles for the first time. And
yeah, looking forward.
I'm sure he has a lot of questions for him and his 4,000 data points.
Yeah.
See, the more people, this is what happens to me. I'm so glad I'm not in Vegas for this game because this is exactly what happens. The more people say LSU, the more I end up betting on Clemson. I would have no money. I'd be in Vegas because the game's on Monday. If I would have gone like tomorrow night or something, I'd be in Vegas all weekend with no money because it would all be on there. My ATM would be maxed. I would have no cash. I'd be like, it'd be like trying to sneak into the buffet or something,
All right.
I got some points left. I got some points from 2012. Can I use those still? I used to be a platinum member.
You looking up in the system here?
Walking around to see if anyone left pennies in the slot machine, hitting the tickets.
A man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Anyways.
All right. So it was great to be on the show today. Good to talk about the upcoming games and look forward to our appearance tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. I enjoyed it. And go Tigers.
Go Bayou Bengals.
Clemson Tigers. This is Mitch. Thanks, Steve, for joining us. Welcome back.
Thanks.
And we'll see you tomorrow with Charles Ormsby and his computer software.
Cool.
It's pretty interesting. Charles, the nice thing about it is that Charles is totally non-enthusiastic about the actual sports part. That's
as Coach Bicknell would say. Charles, he's a great kid. He's a great.
It's like I've never met a guy who does sports betting as his profession that is less like sports than Charles. It's like
that's refreshing.
Well, it's all data. It's all. I mean, there's no
all about the data.
It's only data.
Right.
Anyways, he'll of course have that special. He's, I guess, increasing prices Monday at midnight. So
I would have loved to sit next to him in computer science class and cheat off his.
Man. That was my favorite question from yesterday's show. Was if I had any business experience. Did you catch that one?
Oh, I loved it. My girlfriend Carmela were having dinner when we were watching it. And I was driving up to her house, and I'm like listening in the car, and I said, "Wait till you hear this line." He's like, "If you count dealing weed in college." and selling acid at dead shows.
I think it's better than a lot of the experience on some of the resumes I've seen out there.
Oh my God, it's sad. I was crying laughing for 5 minutes on New York Thruway, I tell you what.
All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Because I was there, I seen it.
Guilty as charged.
Right?
Have a great night, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
You got
10
it.
a.m.
Later.
Eastern.